I've been looking forward to this so much. But Mark, let me ask you a question. I definitely want to make sure I get some conversation in here about Dave. For anybody that didn't get to see Dave back in his day, how good of a wrestler was your brother?
He was the best high school wrestler in history. He beat when he was in high school. He pinned the two-time NCAA champion and the outstanding wrestler in the NCAA's at the Great Plains, and he beat the World Cup champion at the Great Plains, and that qualified him for the Tibilisi tournament. And the Newt Koppel, the president of the national governing body back then, which was the AAU, didn't want to take him because he thought that was a fluke. He didn't want to take him to Tbilisi because that was a U.S. team. That was an open division U.S. team, and all the other wrestlers on the team, they went to Newt and said, "You have to bring Dave. He qualified." So Newt reluctantly brought him, and Dave ended up taking a silver medal, which is better than anybody on the U.S. team. And then he comes back, and he missed all the state qualifying tournaments. And so the coaches of California petitioned to get him into the state tournament. So they put him in at the weight above his normal weight. And he pinned his way through the tournament until he got to the finals. And then he won 12-1. And that was at 170 pounds. And then he goes down to 149.5 pounds to win the U.S. Open Greco Championships and get the most falls in the least amount of time. And he did all of this while he was in high school. And a lot of people don't know this, but Dave had dyslexia when he was a kid. And he was kind of a fat, uncoordinated kid. He wrote with his left hand, he kicked with his right foot, he shot with his right eye. But that became an advantage because he was ambidextrous. He could do moves equally well to both sides. And it was very difficult to scout him or wrestle him. He's very dangerous. And so anyway, he became world and Olympic champion after that. And I mean, he changed the whole paradigm. Before Dave came along, wrestling was pretty much just pure conditioning, just like 9-minute matches, and were just brutal. God, you know about this being 9-minute matches.
I was going to say, what do you think about that? The fact that it's only one 5-minute period now? I mean, going back from the days of three-minute periods, that was tough.
It brutalized me. I do not have a very high max VO2. I'm just born that way. People are born with their max VO2. It's ingrained in their DNA. And you can only improve it about 8 points. And mine was like the lowest ever recorded of any world or Olympic wrestling champion. And I mean, it was by 8 points too. And it's like everybody's all, in this list. And then there's like the second lowest guy. And then there's like 50 feet of shit. And then there's me. And so I was like trying to compete in a sport that was like all conditioning, but I didn't have the conditioning to speak. So anyway, when they lowered the matches from 9 minutes to 6, it had a huge impact on me. But Dave changed the sport a lot because it became a much more technical sport, because when he was beating those guys in high school, he didn't really look like a wrestler. He looked just kind of like a, I don't know, chemistry professor or something. And he just really, and they're like, how is he doing it? And they think, well, it must be the technique. And it was the technique. He was a master technician, and he changed the whole paradigm of the sport of wrestling.
I totally agree with what Mark's analogy. To look at Dave physically, he just was not an imposing figure whatsoever. You sit there, you kind of scratch your head. It's like, going, how is he pulling this? But I remember seeing him in like a pull-up bar, and I was shocked as to how many pull-ups he could do. I mean, he did a lot. So to me, it's like, appearances are very deceiving. What looked like was one thing, but he Well, wrestling needs pulling power. So lat pull down, seated pulls, but doing dips, doing pull-ups, that's all that pulling power, that grip strength that you need to have. So he had that for sure.
I was just saying that he was very deceptive looking.
But also, I think how he won over a lot of the Russians was the fact that he understood their language. He could speak Russian with them there, and again, he got along with people and stuff like that. I mean, literally, I think that the Russian crowd was even cheering for him at different times because he kind of just won over people.
You know, there's a great story. I think it was told by Zeke Jones, and he said when he went to Tbilisi, Dave was the only American to win Tbilisi twice. And
okay, time out, Eric. The Tibilisi tournament is a 32-man tournament. There's probably, I'll say, but maybe like 28 Russians that are in there, and any one of them could be the current world champion. Then you have one American, one Mongolian, and one Bulgarian. Okay, and that's what it is. So it's there are no gimme matches there whatsoever. You were shocked because I remember standing in line going to weigh in, is like going, how am I so small? I look like the runt of the litter out here right now. And it's like, and I remember the funny line, like, because I'm trying to think one of the coaches that were there, Bill Wick. I think he was asking, you know, one of the Turkish wrestlers, like, you know, how do you guys get these big guys down to weight? The Turkish coach goes, oh, 'tis very easy. He says, take wrestler and take wrestler and baked potato and put in sauna. Put potato in wrestler's ass. And he goes, when potato done, wrestler done. And I got that. I mean, literally, that was the joke that was told. That was told. I kept thinking, wow. Notice to self, never eat baked potatoes when you're.
Yeah.
How hard were those Russian wrestlers? I have heard that was just a completely different breed going up against those guys.
Yeah, they were all capable of winning. There's probably 10 guys in each weight that were capable of winning the Worlds. That's what made Tbilisi the toughest tournament in the world back then.
Yeah,
and
that was actually one of the other aspects was that anytime that like a Russian team was able to come to the United States, I mean, they would literally practically kill each other to make that team, because when they would come over to the United States, they were buying Levi jeans, they were buying Hotas, which are tennis shoes. They were buying Levi jeans, tennis shoes, stuff like that, because they did not have these kinds of things. So they could make one trip coming over here just to wrestle in one event, and yet come back and it might bring back 20, 30 pairs of jeans of different sizes of tennis shoes, and literally be like, well, their currency is known as rubles. So they would go back there and become like a rubleraire, you know, they would make so much money on the black market. So it just
when Dave won the Tibilisi the second time, he got injured pretty bad. His shoulder was injured pretty bad in the semifinals. And when he got into the finals against the Russian, this will tell you how much the Russian people love Dave. Dave is very intelligent, and he taught himself to speak Russian, which is kind of weird because when he was a kid, everyone thought he was retarded because he couldn't read. So he had dyslexia.
That's great. Oh, only a brother could tell his other brother he's retarded. Okay.
They didn't know what dyslexia was in the 1960s, you know, and so they thought he was retarded. They put him in these special classes. He'd have remedial reading. He'd read these real remedial books like Anna and Sam went down the slide. He hated that class. It was so, you know, everybody else, you know, but he was actually more intelligent than the average kid. So he would sit in the stands and he would speak Russian to the fans in between rounds of the second Tibilisi tournament, and they just loved him. And when he got to the finals, he was so hurt he couldn't shoot but he kept the match 0-0 the whole time. And at the end of the match, they raised the Russian's hand because the Russian was the aggressor. And the crowd started throwing tomatoes and Coke bottles and chairs and everything at the referees. And the referees recongregated, had another meeting, and they decided for the first time in history they were going to award 2 gold medals at the Tibilisi tournament. That's how much Dave changed the world when he was over there